Greetings, everyone. This is Dane Diesel, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Billionaire Belief Show. This is the first one of the year. So this is, I should say, a very special event. We're going to get the year kicked off to a great start. And I just want to begin the year off, obviously, with some goals and making sure that we understand how important these goals are and why we need to write them down and what we need to do to make sure that we achieve them. So without further ado, let's dive in. So as I said before, today we're going to talk about goals. And before we do, I just want you to think about something real quick. Have you ever had something you wanted to do that you didn't accomplish? I want you to think about how you felt. I want you to think about the feelings that you experienced because you did not accomplish the goal. Now, next, I want you to think about a time when you did set a goal, but you didn't necessarily accomplish it exactly. So let's say, you may have had a goal. Let's do something simple. Let's just say, you had a goal to read 12 physical books in a year, but you only read 6. How did that make you feel? Think about it. Now, more often than not, and more than likely, you obviously felt unpleasant about either not writing a goal down or having a goal, not necessarily writing down or maybe writing it down and not accomplishing it, as well as having a goal that you put some effort behind, but you didn't necessarily accomplish it to the end. You didn't necessarily hit the bullseye, I would say. Now, what those two experiences have in common is the fact that A, you had a goal, and B, you didn't necessarily see it through all the way to the end. And as stated, you more than likely felt very unpleasant about that. But what I also want you to take into consideration is the fact that you had a goal, A, and the fact that you actually put some effort into accomplishing the goal, B, you were miles ahead of the average person. So pat yourself on the back. You may not have achieved the goal and you may not have achieved it specifically to the desire that you wanted, but for the mere fact that you had a goal and you put some effort behind it, just know that you're light years ahead of the quote unquote average person. So with that being said, if you're listening to this, then obviously, your intention is to achieve some goals. So let's talk about a recipe that you can use to achieve your goals, a formula, a methodology, a process, a strategy. Now, I'll be the first to admit I have spent years writing goals down. I have spent years not achieving goals. Come December, I'm if I could find my goal sheet, you know what I'm saying? I look back at it and I may have accomplished 1 or 2, maybe 3, but never the whole list in the entirety. So with that being said, I'm guilty myself of not following through, but there is still some magic behind the process of getting the goal, having the goal in your mind, transferring it from your mind to a piece of paper, and then putting the work in, executing so that you can achieve the goal. And I have done that. So I know that people, you listening to this, you may or may not have struggled with goal setting. You may be a goal setting all-star, and you may be fresh out the box. You may be green to it. But at the end of the day, as always, the purpose of this show, it's ultimately just to help you break your family cycle of poverty. That's really what we're all about here, Billionaire Belief. We're all about financial education, using financial education as the way out of the quote unquote abyss, out of the hole, out of debt, out of all the unpleasant experiences that we have in our lifestyles, and a lot of them, based upon the decisions that we've chosen to make with money. So, it's just my goal, it's just my intention to, put out some good financial information out there, some good financial education information, things that I've learned, that I've used, that have helped me, that have allowed me to move forward, as well as information that I aspire to that I'm using that I'm using to build something that I aspire to achieve. And most importantly, for you, the listener, I mean, I'm doing this for you. I really, really, really want to help you break your family cycle of poverty. I really, really, really want to see you achieve your goals. But in order for you to do that, there's some steps that you have to take. And if you want to break your family cycle of poverty, then you're ultimately going to have to own assets that pay you more than your salary would. And in order to own assets and buy assets that pay you more than your salary would, that's going to require that you have your finances on point. And by having your finances on point specifically, I mean making sure that you're increasing your income, making sure that your savings is building up, and making sure that your credit scores are rising. Like, that's how you know your finances are on point. If those three things are happening, then your finances are definitely on point. And to get your finances on point, it requires that you manage your finances aggressively. So this is things like money management, tracking your income, tracking your expenses, making sure that you pay any credit card debt, as well as any student loan debt or any other type of mortgage debt, car loan debt that you have, on time, so that you don't get negative demerits on your credit report, but ultimately get into a place where you minimize the quote unquote bad debt, which is your consumer debt and your credit card debt. And, meaningless liabilities that I'm not going to say meaningless liabilities, but liabilities, let's just say, in the form of a house mortgage that you don't necessarily have the funds in place to, since you didn't necessarily have the funds in place to buy it outright, then, it's kind of taking money out of your pocket. So here at Billionaire Belief, we believe assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out of your pocket. So yes, we do believe here at Billionaire Belief, I do believe that a house that you live in, that you're paying for out of your pocket, that money is coming out of your bank account, is not an asset, because in the financial world, you are holding a liability, a mortgage payment. I'm not saying owning a house is a bad thing. But from a financial education, financial perspective, these things matter. So understand what you have. Now, to bring it back to goals, before I got into that little tirade right there, we left off on a method. We left off on a recipe that we can use to achieve our goals. Now, this year, I am trying something new. Give you a little background. I am a member of the illustrious and the distinguished gentlemen of the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And, my chapter and I, we definitely stay connected. We definitely stay in touch. And a few of my frat brothers, they were talking about goal setting. And I was just like, yo, it's funny that you say that, because I was definitely thinking about the same thing. But more specifically, he was talking about having an accountability partner. And I'm like, yo, I'm with that. That's definitely something I want to add to my repertoire. So he shot me a link. He said, listen to this, do the work, and let's link back up and discuss our goals. So he shot me a link of a podcast episode of Ed Mylett show. And Ed Mylett is pretty much a financial services rock star. Look him up. But I first originally came across Ed Mylett through an interview he did with Grant Cardone. So when he shot me the information, automatically I'm like, yeah, like, this is definitely something I want to be tuned into. So I tuned in, listened to what he had to say, and at the end of the day, his recipe, his formula, his methodology for goal setting, it made sense. It seemed practical and something that I could do. So I definitely felt it was an upgrade to the goal setting system that I had been using before. So, why not? Let's try something new. So there was a few important things that he did say about the process of goal setting that stood out to me. One being, obviously, the reasons why we need to goal set, why they're important. And obviously, writing your goals down, just automatically writing them down puts you light years ahead in being able to achieve them compared to somebody that doesn't have a goal and or has a goal but doesn't write it down. And then B, most people don't do it. The average person just doesn't do goal setting. So automatically, by you thinking, oh, I got to get my goals down, just know that you're light years ahead. You're already running a mile ahead of the pack. So I'm listening, and he also brought up some good points about focusing on the type of goals. Now, we're going to be talking about short-term goals. So goals that we aspire to achieve within a year or less. I'm not talking about long-term goals. Long-term goals are kind of like the 30,000 bird's eye, the 30,000 foot bird's eye view. Whereas, the goals we're going to be talking about are actually the trees in the forest. So with that being said, as Ed Mylett stated, the first thing you're going to have to do when it comes to getting your goals done, write a wish list. So treat it like you're that kid on Christmas, as he said. You know what I'm saying? We all remember that sense of anticipation we got when our parents, told us to write a Christmas list if we were blessed to be in a situation where that happened. But even if you weren't, we all just experienced just the anticipation as that day approaching and then the day happening and just being, in that sense of pleasantry with unwrapping our gifts. And if you didn't, the maybe the sense of loss. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, just treat your goals like you would Christmas. As an adult now, it's important that we still keep parts of our childhood alive, and this is one of those areas that we can do that. So treat your goals like your Christmas list. So write them all out but remember, focus on a year. So you know what you're capable of, you know what you want to do, but just keep it all in perspective. So personally, for example, when I sat down and did the exercise, I came up with 22 goals. Now, obviously, some of these goals are what Ed describes as stretch goals, the goals that are going to require me to stretch myself out of my comfort zone. And some of these goals are momentum goals, which are pretty simple things to accomplish, but they're just there to build momentum towards your stretch goals to keep you focused and motivated. So some of my goals are stretch, some of my goals are momentum. But what I will say is that after I wrote my Christmas list out to myself, i.e. my goals list, I had 22 items, and then boom, I thought about it. I felt good about it. So, that's what I stuck with. Now, after you get your goals down on paper, the next step, let me see if I can find my notebook. It's not around. But the next step is that you want to. Well, the next step I did was after I got all my goals down on paper. Then so I'm writing on a college ruled notebook. So I wrote obviously number 1, then the red line, then I wrote the goal out. Now in that margin to the left, after I wrote the goal down, number 1, number 2, the next thing I did was I wrote down the month that I wanted to achieve that goal, that specific goal. And so I went through all 22. So December, January, June, August, November. I went through the list, wrote down what I wanted to accomplish each goal. After I did that, the third thing I did was I counted up how many goals I wanted to achieve in each month. And at first, the majority of the goals were all December. And I did it out of habit. And that was another point that Ed made was, why do we always traditionally are either taught or we just naturally, we'll set our goals in a situation where, we'll just write them out and we'll just say, oh, I need to have them all done by the end of the year. But why not, no, I need to have this goal done in May. I need to have this goal done in February. Give yourself checkpoints, as I said, momentum to build toward those bigger stretch goals that you do want to accomplish at the end of the year. So that's what Ed talked about. And so that's what I did, So then I went back to my list 22. Then I started scratching out like, this is kind of like a momentum goal, so I can achieve this earlier in the year. This is a stretch goal, so we'll leave this in December. And I went through my list and refined my month of achievement. And then once I did that, that was the third thing I did. I went back and revisited the month I wanted to accomplish them. So after I did that, then I had pretty much at least one goal to achieve each month, which is great. And after I had the goals to achieve each month, then I wrote my goals down. The fourth thing, I wrote them down on index cards. I wrote the goal out. And here's another key information Ed said to include your goals, which is why I believe his system is a little revolutionary, in my opinion, because this was the quote unquote game changing aspect of it. Is he said you need to include some important components to your goals. So let's just say you have your index card right there on the blank side. You write your goal at the top of it, in pretty big letters. So let's just say, for example, we'll keep it simple, read 12 books, read 12 physical books. So here's what Ed said to do next. So after you write your goal right there, boom, it's big. The next thing you have to do is you have to write accountability partner. Then write out who you want to have accountable, because that's really the key. I'm starting to understand with accomplishing anything in life. You have there's power and magic in having an accountability partner. Now, a big reason why I know personally I haven't had accountability partners in the past is because a part of me I'm realizing still wanted to give myself a out if I didn't achieve the goal. Because if I didn't tell anybody about the goal, then nobody would know I had the goal. So not achieving the goal, it pretty much would be something that I could just sweep underneath the rug. But if you have an accountability partner, it's a game-changing situation, because now there's someone out there in the world who knows what you have chosen to achieve for yourself and is now going to hold you accountable to making that happen. Going to hold you accountable so that you can show yourself and let yourself know if what you say you wanted to accomplish was really something that you felt was important and wanted to accomplish. So, I did that. You write accountability partner. The next thing you want to do is you want to write down a specific deadline for the goal. So remember, first I picked the month I wanted to accomplish the goal. And then I had my cell phone right there with me. And then so January, one of my goals, for example, in January for this year is to write out, but take a course in stock investing, a beginner's course in stock investing. So I wrote out, my accountability is, my boy. The deadline is I want to have this accomplished by January 31st, 2019. Then the next component that you want to add towards your goals is your reason why for accomplishing that goal. And for me, the reason why I want to accomplish the goal of taking a beginner stock investing course is because I understand that having assets, once again, going back to breaking my family cycle of poverty, owning assets that are able to pay me more than the salary that I earn through my physical labor, that's what's going to afford me the freedom and the stability that I need to make sure that my loved ones are taken care of and provide us with that income protection in the event that, yours truly passes away or something, cataclysmic happens to where now I'm physically and or mentally disabled. But because I took the steps to put the family in a position to have some income protection through owning assets that produce income, albeit, let's just say I have this unfortunate experience, my family is still taken care of, and that's what's important. Because personally, I do put legacy of family and respect for self before everything else. And so making sure the family is taken care of is important. So with that being said, you put your reason why, and that's going to remind you, and when you're having those moments of boredom, those confidence crises, or those moments where you're deciding what you're going to look at on Netflix, snap yourself out and get to what's really most important to you, which is making sure that come Christmas time, Santa quote unquote delivers what you are expecting, which is your goals. So you put your reason why. And then the last element you include is resources. What resources are you going to need to accomplish said goal? So to take that course, I said, I'm going to need to obviously find the resources I'm going to need is the internet. I'm going to need some cash, obviously, more than likely to pay for it. I'm going to need some transportation. I'm going to need some notes. I'm going to need some business cards to pass out to the people that I meet while I'm there. And I think that was it. But as you can see, that's important. That's important. Having that down on paper. So like I said, I wrote that down on my index card and I went on to the next goal. Then I did that for all 22 goals, and I pretty much laid them all out so I could see from a year's perspective what I need to accomplish. Obviously, like I said, the end of the year was heavy with most of the goals because that's where most of the stretch goals were. But I made sure I had a goal for each month of the year to provide me with momentum to push me towards the achievement of the stretch goals, as Ed Mylett talks about. But all in all, I got it all down on paper. And then the next important thing that we need to do is we need to say these things, visualize these things, speak these things into existence on a daily basis. And most importantly, expect success. Stay in a mindset of expectation. And I'll just share a real quick story about that. There was a point in my life where I came across some information that was talking about expectations, and somehow I interpreted from this information that it wasn't good for me to have expectations. So at that moment, I stopped having expectations. But at that moment, when I look back 2020, what I realized was by not having expectations, I didn't really go anywhere in life. That's just the God honest truth. So expectations are important. But what I will say is you don't have to necessarily fake it till you make it, because I understand how psychologically ambivalent of a position that could put you in, thinking like, well, I don't necessarily have these things, but I'm telling myself I have these things. Why am I? But if you're in a mindset of expectation, where it is mostly, like I expect to be in a position to own a lucrative asset portfolio that produces income for my family and provides me with income protection in the event of my untimely death and or physical and mental disability. You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, you know what I'm saying? You're in the game. So have that, having that as a thought, is important. So boom, make sure you do it. But ultimately, when it comes back to goal setting, that was the formula, that was the process, that was the math, that was the science, per Ed Mylett. And so I definitely this formula makes sense to me. I like it. Like you said, day 2 into using it, you know what I'm saying, waking up saying these goals, I have them right by my bed. So I wake up, got the flashcards right there, go through them, say them out loud throughout the day. I'm visualizing these things. And it's so far so good. I'm getting into some other things that I'm gonna be accomplishing with this process. But most importantly, like I said, I got the goals written down on paper. The vision is clear. Now, one additional thing I am gonna do is on the back of the flashcards, I'm going to actually write down the actual steps I need to take to accomplish the goal, or the steps I think I need to take to accomplish the goal. And then once I do accomplish the goal, I'm going to sign it on the front and then put the date I did accomplish the goal. But I'm going to keep you up to date. We'll have some pit stops throughout the year. We'll talk about our goals. So I'm going to get this episode out soon. Today's actually, so Happy New Year. Today is literally the 1st, 2019. But no matter when you're listening to this, whether it's this month, this year, or years to come, just know that, this process is sound, it's practical, and I believe it's going to work, and I expect it to work. And I'm going to stay in that state of expectation, and I will expect success for myself. That's the standard that I'm holding myself to. That's the standard I want you to hold yourself to. So to recap real quick before we get out of here, goal setting, 2019 and beyond, we're going to be using the Ed Mylett method. And his method is pretty simple and straightforward. The first thing you need to do is write down your Christmas list, aka your goals list, what you want to accomplish. And then 2, once you have it written down, Next to each item on the left-hand side, so you use some college rule paper, but on that left-hand margin, write down the month that you want to have that goal accomplished in. And then after you do that, step number 3, go back and then think from a perspective of stretch and momentum. If it's a goal that's going to require, a lot of effort and time throughout the year, then it's a momentum goal. It's an effort. A stretch goal. If it's a goal that necessarily isn't going to require that much time and attention, something that can pretty much get done in less than a month, it's a momentum goal. So then you want to go back and reevaluate the month that you want to have your goals accomplished in. Ideally, giving yourself one goal a month. So that was the third thing. The fourth thing you do once you get your goals mapped out in for each month, basically. And obviously, you want to have, some months might have more than one goal, but ideally you want to have one goal a month. Then you go back and you write your goals on an index card. You use the blank side at the top, and kind of in bigger letters you write what the goal is, and then be specific. I almost forgot that. That's why I was looking for my notes earlier. But that's an important ingredient when you're writing the goals out, when you're writing them down. You have to be specific. So it isn't something vague. For example, would be I want to make a lot of money this year, or I want to double my income this year. Those are vague goals. A more specific goal would be I want to in 2018 I earned $50,000, and in 2019 I want to earn $100,000. So same goal, I want to double my income, but because you're being specific, you then give your mind a bullseye to hit. Because when you just say double your money, it's like your mind doesn't think, okay, well, what's the bullseye for doubling my money? You leave your mind in a state of like wonderment, in a sense, wandering around. But when you say, okay, I want to earn $100,000 this year, boom, now you give your mind a target to hit. And now that it has a target to hit and focus on, you can start putting in the work and executing to get it. But all in all, you make your goal specific, you write it down, then underneath it, you write that your accountability partner, 1, your deadline, 2, why you want to accomplish the goal, 3, and then 4th, the resources you need to accomplish that goal. The last thing you want to do is you want to speak, visualize, and say these goals on a daily basis. Do it as many times as you can throughout the day. Think about it, and some bonus points that I'm going to personally be doing. I'm going to be, like I said, writing on the back of the goal the actual steps I believe I need to take to accomplish it, the execution part. And then on the front, once I do achieve the goal, I'm going to sign it and then boom, store it away so that, years down the line, I can look back and remember, this is what I accomplished. But with that being said, that's pretty much what it takes to achieve some goals, baby. So let's get on this goal hunt. Let's be hungry for some goals this year. Let's get these things written down. If you have any questions, you know how to get at me, reach out. Follow us on Instagram. That's the most important thing you can do. And once you follow us on Instagram, make sure you grab a copy of our free financial education study guide. Just to let you know, I am making some changes. And so I will be swapping out what's there now with a more new original version for you. That I want you to have. And then also this year, we are going to be releasing a course / workbook to help you get your finances on point. Because as I stated before, in order to break our family cycle of poverty, we need to make sure that we own assets that pay us more than any salary that we can earn through our physical labor. In order to do that, we need to make sure our finances are on point. And by finances on point, I mean making sure we're increasing our income, making sure we're building up our savings so we can have money to invest, and then making sure that our credit scores are rising. So we're always in good financial standing and don't necessarily have to overpay for things. But yeah, so we're going to talk about this first level, you know what I'm saying, is all going to be about getting our finances on point. So that's going to be what our initiative and our mission is going to be for this 2019 and beyond, helping people get that first level squared away, you the listener. So I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you tuning in. Be on the lookout, for the next episode. Tune in, like you said, subscribe. join the list, get the free your free guide, and make sure you follow us on Instagram at BBWCN. Make it a great day. I love you. Looking forward to seeing you and speaking to you again. Peace.